Hello, race fans, and welcome to another edition of Before the Green Flag on GMSRacing.net. As always, I'm Justin Waltham, joined by Joey Coulter and Josh Weimert. And guys, now heading from NASCAR's biggest track at Talladega, now heading to Martinsville, NASCAR's shortest track. But before we get there, what are your big takeaways from our weekend at Talladega?
Both trucks were really fast, and we don't need three, four, however many green, white checkers to tear stuff up. It's just kind of inevitable on those plate races. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you've run all day. The aggression meter just skyrockets on those green, white checkers. So, man, my legs kind of felt like jello those last 5 laps. Just watching that stuff with having Spencer and Brandon up there, it was a lot of fun to watch, and it was really cool to see Spencer just have that massive push off of turn 2. Unfortunately, it didn't work out better than what it did, but it was really cool to see those guys both run up front. So, green, white checker rule. Driver, you don't have to go through three of them. You just had to go through one.
Yeah. In my experience with green, white checkers, if I usually make it through the first one, the second one usually gets me.
You wind up in the fence.
Yeah, the third one, if I get to the third one, it's usually off the ground, bouncing off of something. But in the long run, I really don't think it's going to change a whole lot, other than it may save a couple race cars, because and it's not a knock on drivers or anybody, but the desperation goes up, and you've been running a long race, and you're just we're all out there to win. Every driver's out there to win, so you're going to do whatever it takes. And the way plate racing is it's either going to work out or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, you might as well try to make Sports Center, because
it's not going to be pretty,
right? Yeah. And what I'm really taking away from Talladega is just the raw speed that both our trucks seem to have.
Definitely.
Regardless of the qualifying format or whether you're drafting or not, teams always look at just raw speed. And places like Talladega and Daytona, especially Talladega, that's where you're going to test your raw speed. And we were making a ton of horsepower with those ECR engines. The bodies going on those trucks are bad to the bone now and getting better. And I think that was a huge takeaway, that it didn't work out, but both trucks could lead, they could pass, they were fast in practice, they were fast in qualifying, and it's a good, going back and comparing it to Daytona, as good as we were then, we still made more progress. So that's really good signs going into next year.
And all that stuff, that's the only stuff you can control.
Yeah,
those racetracks.
absolutely.
Everything else, just the cards kind of fall where they may.
Yeah.
And now heading to Martinsville, we've been there once this year. So now for these guys to return back to Martinsville, what do you think is the kind of takeaways they can go from the first race and now apply it to this one?
Well, at the test, Brandon and Spencer both used their second rookie test about 2 weeks ago, and Spencer said it there. It's patience. Like that's the thing. It seems like drivers always fight there. It's kind of like Talladega, even though it's 2 miles shorter. Is patience gets tested, and there's plenty of contact. There's plenty of carnage, but it's the guy that can keep his head on straight and maintain his equipment, keep the fenders on it, keep the rear tires under it. It doesn't. I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like it really matters what kind of car you're running there. It doesn't matter how many laps the race is. The ingredients are kind of the same every time you race there.
Yeah, it's definitely a place where you got to keep your head on your shoulders, and that's where guys that run good there consistently do better than anybody else. Is they know the racetrack, they know how hard to push, when to push that hard, and when not to push. You never see a guy like Denny Hamlin drive through the field with the quarter panels and the fenders knocked off. He drives through the field, but when you watch him do it, it's calculated, it's patient, but he's always moving forward. He takes advantage of restarts, which that's huge there. And it's big just staying out of trouble. You got to stay out of trouble. But what's different about the spring race and the fall race is it is a completely different racetrack when you go back in the fall. I'm not really sure why, but
and 50 laps shorter.
Yeah, it's just always different. The weather's different, humidity's different. There's a little bit more racing action between the spring and the fall than there is between the fall and the spring. You got a big late model race there, and it all adds up. And more teams seem to test there in the fall than they do in the spring. So the track's going to have a little bit more rubber on it. People's notebooks are a little more polished up, and then the weather's completely different. So it'll be exciting. But I think they learned a lot the last time they were there to bring to this race.
And we were to catch up with Spencer and get his thoughts of what's it like heading back to Martinsville this year, and what's it going to take for him to get in the victory lane.
Our short track program's just been awesome this year. Everywhere we've really gone, places like Iowa, Martinsville, Gateway, we've really shown speed in one or both of our GMS racing trucks. So going back to Martinsville, I'm really excited to see that how we're going to stack up against the field, because spent a couple days testing there not too long ago, and I think we got some real great results out of it. Big thing in Martinsville is two things. Number one, you got to learn to be patient during the race, because you don't want to take yourself out and make a mistake that's going to end your day and someone else's. And the second thing is really during practice and during the race, you don't race the stopwatch. Race how the race car is driving. Because you're going to be in so much traffic always at Martinsville, you're not going to be able to cut those perfect laps like you can in practice. So it's much more important to focus on the handling balance of the truck, because that's what's going to let you move forward, and that's what's going to let you make passes.
And now, staying on Martinsville, it's always a track that everyone loves going to. Fans, drivers, all the crew.
You don't have a pulse if you don't.
Yeah,
like
it's one of the just marquee tracks of NASCAR, and kind of everyone has a favorite part. So what is your favorite part of Martinsville?
I love, and this is such a cliche answer, but I love racing there, because once you get going in the race, the rhythm you get into, working through traffic, it's probably one of the toughest places to go through the field, because you have to be so patient. And it's so much about getting the guy in front of you to make a mistake. You know what I mean? A lot of places, if you've got a better truck and you're running in a better part of the racetrack or something, it's a little bit easier to pass. But Martinsville, you can be a half a second faster than somebody and get held up for 50 laps if you don't approach it right. And that's what I've always loved about racing there. Everything I've ever raced there, late models, trucks, doesn't matter. It's just there's so much strategy involved in passing one guy. It makes it a lot of fun.
Whether it's your first time going there or you've been going there for 100 years, it feels like it's your racetrack. It feels like it's your hometown grassroots racetrack.
It
is for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's right in my backyard.
It's right there. There's people's homes are right there. The proximity to the fans. I mean, the fans are right on top of you. The fact that there's culinary delights to indulge in, like the hot dog. It's just
well put.
Yeah,
very nice.
It's just, I mean, it doesn't get any better. Plus the fact that, to me, it's the most pure the most pure form of racing that we have. It's all, the driver plays such a bigger role in the performance of the team at Martinsville than probably anywhere else that we go. It's not about aero. It's not as much about track position. It's about the driver making the right moves, getting the truck to handle right and everything. And that's what racing is. That's what we should do every week. But it's awesome. For me, it's one of the 2 or 3 highlights of the season.
Definitely. It's just one of those tracks that no matter who you are, you always look forward to it. And to catch all the action this weekend, it's going to be Saturday, October 31st on Halloween, 1:30 on Fox Sports 1. And always be sure to check us out on GMS Racing LLC for all in-race updates. And also check out gmsracing.net to stay up to date with the pre-race, post-race, and everything in between. And from all of us here before the Green Flag, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.